All righty, let's have a little fun. Good morning, good
Alright.
afternoon, or good evening. No matter where you're watching us from around the globe, I say thank you for allowing us into your homes, but most importantly, into your hearts. If you're watching us on the DBNA television network, a sincere thank you, and please continue to support the network, the other amazing talent, and those sponsors. If you're listening to us in podcast form, Cody, myself, and Amber Lynn say turn that knob up and let us put that flavor in your ear. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button because I guess those algorithms love that stuff. And if you're watching us live on Facebook Live here this afternoon, those algorithms also love the likes, the shares, the comments, the emoji reactions. So I welcome all of those. But without further ado, please welcome, just know that I am super excited about this. I have Amber Lynn Carroll and her husband, Cody Carroll. Welcome to the show, you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, big thank you for having us. We always love coming on together and doing things. So it's such a treat.
Well, I appreciate it because I know you guys are busy. You have a lot of things that you're juggling, but just to have you both on together, I think will be a lot of fun for the viewers and listeners of the show.
For sure. Yeah, we're
All right.
excited.
All right. Well, let's lace them up then. Here we go. Cody Carroll, professional baseball player. My goodness, if my research is right, it looks like 22nd round, the number 663rd pick of the New York Yankees, those pinstripes.
That is correct.
Nice. And then you got to throw a little bit with the Baltimore Orioles, which I think is exciting. And then Miss Amber Lynn Carroll, host of The Better Half and former Miss Tennessee.
That's right. Yeah, we try and do it all. Try to.
I think it's great. So to to say the least, we have us a power couple on the Coach Scott Field Show here today, and excited to have this conversation. Ladies first, Amber Lynn, what's it like sitting in the stands watching your husband on the mound doing his thing?
I think my mother-in-law can attest to this as well. I don't think it ever gets easier. I think knowing they even might come in, around the seventh to ninth inning, really, as a reliever, and just anticipating that every single night and waiting to see, he might go in, warm up, and then doesn't go in at all. And you're like, oh my gosh, I just almost had a heart attack just sitting in the stand. So it doesn't ever get easier, but it's incredibly moving, and there's no words to describe it.
I bet. Well, Cody, let me ask you this. What's it like watching your wife in an evening gown answer those high pressure questions while she's competing on stage?
Well, actually, I had to do it over a phone as well, so I didn't get to be there, unfortunately, because that was our during our season. But me and Cash, our dog, watched it, and we kept taking screenshots and videos for her. So it was a lot of fun.
I think it's awesome that you guys can, be so supportive of each other. And I'm sure if I asked either of you this question, it would probably come with a different perspective. But how did you, Amber, let me ask you, Amber Lynn, how did you guys meet?
So we actually went to high school together, believe it or not, Mount Juliet High School. Now, actually, being heavily recruited back then, we were just kind of a little high school outside of Nashville. He graduated 2 years after me, actually with my sister, and we reconnected. I was in Charleston, really there for a very short time of my life, I thought. And we just happened to reconnect on social media. He had gotten sent from spring training to the uh, River Dogs with the Yankees organization. And so literally gave him my number on social media and said, from one Nashville native to another. Didn't really expect what had happened, and getting together. But I invited him out with some friends after a little while. And lo and behold, the first time I saw him, I thought, game over, done.
I like it. Well, Cody, if I was to ask you the same question, it sounds like maybe there was a kindling there as high school sweethearts, but from your perspective, how did that all play out?
It's pretty accurate, actually. Funny thing is me and one of my best friends used to go to the YMCA every day in high school, and she worked there. So, like, basically, the only interactions we ever had were a little like, hey, how you doing? When I checked in, to go to the gym, and that was about it. But yeah, she pretty much nailed it on the whole thing.
I like it. I like it. I guess there's so many things. I mean, Amber Lynn, you went to University of Tennessee to study broadcast. Cody, you were down at Southern Mississippi, if I recall. But
Yeah.
so how did you guys? So you just kind of rekindled it through social media, because that's how my daughter actually met her husband, and I think it's great because they actually went to high school together, didn't even like each other in high school, and here they are married, and we're about to have grandkids here next month.
Congratulations on that as well.
Thank
That
you.
I saw pictures of the day, and she is just beautiful and glowing. It's funny, and I wasn't going to tell this part right now, but he actually had left me tickets to his games, and being on that side of sports, I wasn't really looking to have my personal life involved in that side of sports, if you know what I mean. And so he left me tickets, and I never came. And I actually went to Riverdog Stadium with my Bible group from church. Didn't use this ticket, didn't even tell him I was coming. And this was kind of the deal breaker for me. It was packed out house. If you've ever been to a Charleston River Dogs game, you know that they sell out almost every night. Like, it doesn't matter what night it is. And I was sitting way up there, no reason for him to see me. But at this point in his career, he was a starter. So he was actually in the dugout waiting. And I got a text after the game, and he's like, I see that you finally used my ticket. And I'm like, okay, if this man has been looking for me and can pick me out of a crowd, maybe something is up. So I didn't use his ticket, but I'm glad that I went to the game.
She said she did.
Oh, I think it's great. It reminds me of the Kevin Costner movie For Love of the Game, and movies like that fascinate me because Kevin kind of takes you on a ride to the mindset of being that pitcher on the mound. Cody, in your opinion, how accurate is that film? Does it depict all the feelings, all the emotions, all the you kind of self-talk that you have for yourself on the mound?
Yeah, it actually is pretty close. I know he likes to say clear the mechanism in the
Yeah.
movie. Yeah, that's fairly accurate. You kind of just got to like zone everything else out. I mean, you're going to hear people yelling at you and whatnot, but you have one job to do and you got to get that job done. So, you can't really focus on literally anything else going on for that, however long you're out there, you're 5-6 minutes or whatever it is.
Right, but you knew Amber Lynn was up in the stands, so the mechanism wasn't that clear.
I was in the dugout doing nothing. So
oh, there you go. Good stuff. Good stuff. Amber Lynn, you host The Better Half on the DBNA television network, and I'm a fan of your work. I love the guests that you bring on. I love how you use your platform for different foundations. Kind of, how did that come to fruition, and what was the motivation to kind of get that started?
Well, as you know, that DB is incredible, and he can think of anything. And as we're talking about this network and these different shows, he knows my interest in telling kind of the story beyond the field, beyond the mound. And he knows that we also have a nonprofit, and kind of making those two combine and being able to still be a storyteller and tell these stories of people who have overcome so much to be where they are, but also they're good that they're doing in the community. And of course, I've got some in there too that's about travel, because we travel quite a bit. So I try to throw a little bit of everything in there that kind of really blends with who we are as people. And of course, The Better Half, I loved the catchy name. It goes very well. So it's definitely a mix of who we are. Like I said, travel, nonprofits, books. So just it's been such a treat, and DB has really poured everything into this network. And I love what you do in your show. And every time you send it to me, I mean, you have some of the most moving interviews, and you continue to tell those stories beyond the court, beyond the mound, beyond the field. And so yeah, that's really how The Better Half kind of came about.
Well, I appreciate your kind words. I implore our viewers and listeners of this show to please check out The Better Half. again, your platform and how you use your platform, not only as former Miss Tennessee, but even your show. Talk about your foundation that you have and the reason and purpose behind that.
So in 2019, we lost my brother Jake to suicide in January. And for us, it was an eye opener. I struggle with depression. I have attempted suicide when I was younger. And so for me, when he passed, he left a bunch of journals that he actually used for self-care and just to really as an outlet for him to pour his heart and his thoughts out, and being able to read the words on the paper and personally identify with what he was going through, because as brother and sister, we were pretty much best friends. I call him like my twin that was born 6 years too late. But we never really talked about mental health that much. We just kind of got it that we were both in that same space. But to actually see his words written out and thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. Someone else felt that way. And I couldn't imagine how lonely he felt at times. And we both kind of looked at each other and said, well, if I can identify with this, I feel like other people can as well. So it started out as a cause. We just really wanted to be able to share the different things that he told himself, the ways that he got through his mental health, and what inspired him. And then kind of snowballed into this nonprofit now that we have, and kind of finding who we are along the way. And of course, the journey of grief. And I think it's a very special one with suicide, not in a good way, but as to, we've definitely taken our time in becoming who we are as a nonprofit to make sure that our grief doesn't reflect what we put out there. We just want to be a light and a hope to people, but also people have been great understanding that it's been a process for us as well. But most importantly, in 2020, I got my life coaching certification. So now what we have with Team Jake, our mission really is just to meet people where they are, and be okay with that. Your feelings are valid, you are heard, you are understood, and your voice matters. And right now, what I've created is called the Aurora Hub. And the word aurora really stuck with me. In order to see the aurora, you've got to sit in the darkest of night, in the coldest of places to see that light. So it's very small right now, but what we intend to do is to be able to just be a resource for people. I can't tell you how many different times my brother and I sat on the phone and wrote out plans. And so he felt like he had purpose, and he was driving towards his goals and his dreams, and kind of a world where everything is thrown at you. We've got access to almost everything. So at times it can feel overwhelming and really exhausting. And the Aurora Hub with Team Jake does just that. We allow people to be able to sit where they are and know where they are, and know that it's okay, but there is a hope, there's a future, and you do have purpose.
Wow, that's extremely powerful, and it's very heartfelt. And I know what it means to you being so close to your brother, and using your platform for mental health but suicide prevention, and hearing you tell that story. I heard you say that you too battle with depression. Cody, being her life partner, what does that mean to you to hear her say that she struggles with depression, and how do you try to be there for her to help her through those times? Because again, you and I, we put our relationships first and foremost and as a priority, no matter what happens on the field. But how does that make you feel to hear Amber Lynn share that?
Yeah, we've been over it a lot, especially the last few years for sure. For me, it's more of just listening to what she has to say, and telling her that it's okay to feel that way. I sometimes even normal people, like, whether you think you have depression or not, everybody has it at some point in your life. You're going to have it. So as we've gone through this, you can kind of look back in your own life and see, like, oh well, that's probably what this was for me in this time period for me. So like, I could kind of reflect and see where possibly I had that as well. I mean, it comes and goes for everybody, differently. So just trying to be there for her and listen, and try to help guide or just be there is the biggest thing for me. So that's kind of how I try to help her with it. It's an ongoing battle, of course. It doesn't just magically disappear. So it comes and goes, and you just gotta kind of be there and help whatever way you can, whatever way they need.
You bet. And see, I heard you say something powerful there that resonated with me. Everyone suffers with some forms of depression. I know that when I was coaching and we were very involved in, all the travel and you're into it. And all of a sudden, when you step away from coaching, I was really depressed because I wasn't in the game that I loved anymore. I wasn't a part of a team that had goals and aspirations. So I too, there were times where it's just like, man, I just miss it so much. But Amber Lynn, when Cody says that, what was it within yourself that where you try to find, peace within that depression for yourself?
Definitely. So I've tried to become ultra self-aware as I get older. I've been through things with my past as a kid, and different things, just growing through things you can't really help, and things that come up that, everyone has trauma, they say that's what
Yeah.
makes the world go round, to be honest.
Right.
And but really, I think in me, it's just self-care and self-awareness. And some days I'll wake up and say, hey, today's one of those days. I just need you to listen. And even, we had a moment today, literally, I said, I just need you to listen,
Yeah.
And he said, okay, that's all I need. And I think having that trust within your partner and that trust within yourself to know, okay, this is a fleeting feeling. It will go away, but I do need to address it. And I think sitting in it in that moment is good. I think it's acknowledging that your feelings are valid yourself, and then also having someone or even a resource like the crisis text line or suicide hotline, that they'll just listen, and that's what they're there for. And to be able to have that outlet speaks volumes. There are no words.
And I'm glad to hear you say that because I truly believe that listening is a skill set. Most people listen to respond, but don't just listen to learn and evolve. So whenever we're put in that position to, listen to our partners, listen to our friends, and to anyone who is in need, I think that's something that we all have within us and we all need to do a better job of. Do you agree?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Even learning as a life coach in the classes, that's the number one thing that they even tell you. And as a journalist, listening is so crucial to how a story, an interview, is going to go. And if we were all better listeners, I feel like the world would be a lot more at peace.
I
Right.
agree. I agree. Well said. Well said. So Cody, let's kind of flip gears. Baseball. I mean, that is your thing. It's it's your livelihood. It's a lifestyle. It's what you've poured everything into. What are the ultimate goals for you right now that you're multiple years into this journey? And gosh, you've got to play in many cities. You've been with double A, triple A, and some of these double A and triple A teams have the best nicknames ever. But where do you see your career going, and what do you ultimately want to do with your career?
Right now, for me, it's just getting back to the big leagues and proving that I belong there. That's really what keeps me going right now. Me and another friend actually had this conversation a couple weeks ago, and he was like, I just want to play one. He just had a baby. He's like, I just want to play one more year, get one more shot at it. If I don't make it, I don't make it. But at least I gave it everything I got. I got nothing left in the tank really. So like for him, that's good. And I was like, I was like, he's like, that's what motivates me to keep going. I was like, I'm kind of in the same boat, but mine's a little different. Like I've had the taste of pitching in the major leagues. It didn't go very well, but I know that I do belong there. So that's kind of for me is where right now I want to get back there and stay there and prove that I belong there. And
There you
so
go.
right now that's just the opportunity I'm waiting on. Of course, you got to create your own opportunities. You know that better than anybody else. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah, and see, I can empathize with that because again, coaching at the highest levels in the NBA, coaching in FIBA, winning multiple championships, but also dabbling into the minor leagues. I mean, there's a lot of sacrifice, a lot of people don't see. Again, Kevin Costner movie, Bull Durham. I thought he did a great job of showing
Right.
what that life is. Going from small city, jumping on the buses, living with per diem, trying to take care of yourself to get to the show. So I hear what you're saying loud and clear, and I do understand what you're going through. Amberlynn, being his life partner, being his wife, seeing how driven he is and ambitious he is, what types of sacrifices have you had to make, to support him in his career and vice versa, him with yours?
You know, we always knew there would come a point where we were like, okay, this just isn't going to work anymore. you know,
Yeah.
we had only been married about a year, and I had been in Savannah, Georgia. I loved the people. We both did. Just made incredible relationships with everyone there, and still go back now and still have what we call our church family there. We love them so much. Um, but we knew that there was going to come a point where we were going to look at each other and be like, this is it, And after we got traded to the Orioles, and we arrived AAA after driving from Scranton all the way to
Wilkesboro.
Norfolk. Oh yeah, yeah, and that was a very interesting drive. It was a very exciting drive because we were so excited. We knew the Orioles had a lot of opportunity, but upon getting there, we also recognized after he'd been with the Yankees only since he got drafted that organizations are very different, and getting there and having that moment. I remember his words. He said, I need you here. And I'm like, well, I'm here. I've got one more day off of work. He's like, no, this is it. And I was like, all right, well, let's do it. So it was truly a calling I felt in my heart as well. So along to be able to sacrifice um, who you are now for the future, and what that entails, and really that belief and having that faith that that there's more to this. Shortly after we left the station, which was so much fun because I got to be able to actually like go to games with them and be with them, and I was so thankful for that. We lost my brother that following January, and then he had surgery that May of 2019. Then I lost my grandfather that October, and so it was a crazy year, but truly, truly, and our faith, we believe everything happens, for a reason. And to me, I thought that's exactly why, I was called to kind of leave and go with him. So now we're into 2019, 2020, and 2021 now. So 2 years of being able to travel with him. It's been amazing to watch what that has kind of led into. I mean, if I wouldn't have been with him during the COVID season, I wouldn't have probably gotten to see him just for the fear of catching it and not being able to play. So we lived in Sarasota for an entire year with some of our best friends. Now we all just hunkered down in the house together. So it's been so exciting, and something I truly never thought, being married, or, you always think that you'll have your own careers and everything like that. And you do, but there's something so special about watching your partner excel at theirs that there's no words that can explain it.
Yeah, well said. And when I hear you sharing that story, I hear you both, you know, very strong with your faith. How important is it being faith-based and putting that a priority into your relationship as this power couple who's out there striving to do wonderful things, and you both have had success in both of your respected careers. But again, being faith-based, how important is that to you both?
Very important, just I think we don't ever really know what's coming next. So in baseball, we like to say you can never plan anything. So it's kind of on the fly is usually how we roll. So, like we're at our condo here for, I don't know, maybe another month, maybe 3 weeks, maybe 2 months. And we have no idea. So,
When that call is going to come, right?
yeah, we have no idea when, where, how we're going there, how we're getting there, So we kind of just, it is, we go with the flow, we always make sure that, you know, that's kind of how you have to live is through faith, really. I mean, just, knowing that you're going to have somewhere to go, somewhere to live, that's just kind of how we've been rolling the past 3.5 years. And so far, so good.
Yeah, right, right.
Few bumps in the roads, but we got through it. So
No, and again, you're preaching to the choir because for me, and when I was single before I married Kim, it was like half passport will travel, and my passport had more ink than Wiz Khalifa because I was everywhere on all these countries, on all these continents. So I get it. I mean, there's again, a lot of people don't see the sacrifice. They see, what they imagine is wonderful on social media posts or on websites or updates, with the teams, but there truly is a lot of sacrifice, personally and professionally, as you're on this journey.
right.
Well, I think it's great how you guys are in full support of each other, and I think it's a beautiful thing, and it's a model and a blueprint for other couples out there who are going through the same types of things. Because as you mentioned earlier, Amber Lynn, I mean, you're packing up the boxes, you're loading up the vehicles, you're taking off driving through the mountains or along the East Coast to the next city and next destination, and trying to plant and meet new friends and find churches in the area. So there's a lot to that.
There is. It's been a huge what we've turned it into be too. I think blessing to find like a sense of community where you're planted as well. I loved we were stuck in Arizona in Sarasota after he had his surgery, and it was just he and I down there and our dog, and we thought he was in the house and like I can't really do anything. So I had a really wonderful friend, a baseball friend, and they actually lived in Sarasota, and she just commuted back and forth. And she invited me to come to church with her and to her I love bar exercise class. And I found such a sense of community with these women and was volunteering and doing different things. And I still talk to all of these people from that community. And even in Virginia Beach last year, we adopted a park with our nonprofit and cleanup and all of that. And it's just so special to be able to cultivate these relationships around the globe or America, of course, that you wouldn't otherwise get a chance to, and kind of see people's lives and open your mind culturally. And it's been a real treat. It's hard at times. I mean, sometimes you're packing up at midnight and you're like, do you just want to drive overnight? That's better than just waking up at 3 a.m., but it's so worth it in the end to look back and look to see how we've grown through the communities that we've been in, for sure.
Well, and when you say that, I mean, your optimism and positive attitude radiates, and you must stay positive and you must have that faith like you guys were just talking about. Cody, let me ask you this. You going through the process of, double A, triple A, single A, when you finally got that call, I think maybe it was like what, July 31st or August 1st. Where were you when you got that call? And take us through those emotions when you finally got the call.
It was actually during a game in Norfolk in AAA. It's probably it was pretty early, like what, second, third inning.
Yeah.
I was in the bullpen, and they called me down to the dugout, and then the manager told me, he was super calm about it because he thought it had already been up, so he didn't know. So he was like super calm about it, whatever. And he was like, they're gonna call you up, go talk to the trainer about your travel schedule. Here's the number for the travel guy in Baltimore. You can call him and get it all figured out.
Wow.
And I was like, all right. So I ran in, grabbed my phone, and we always said whenever I was with New York, the Taylor Swift song, Welcome to New York, we always said if I ever made it that I would just send her that song, and that's how she would know. Well, ended up that we were going to New York the following day. So I sent her that song, and then she called me immediately after, and then it was kind of just mass chaos after that. So I ended up we were supposed to go on the road that night, so I already had everything packed up, which was nice. So I ended up driving up to Baltimore, met the team there, and then took the train with them to New York the following day.
Wow. And so, Amber Lynn, when you got that call, you received the message. What were the emotions that you were feeling for him?
So I was actually producing a sportscast local TV station, and I just happened, of course, I looked at my phone, and I'm sitting here, and we always text back and forth. I'm like, why is he texting me during a game right now? I've got the game pulled up on my phone, and I look, and it's the screenshot of Taylor Swift's song and the album, and I shut the door, and I was like, oh my gosh. I said, is this really happening right now? And I look at the schedule, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're actually going to New York. What are the odds that you get to, throw your first pitch in a major league stadium at Yankee Stadium, which is so cool because that's where we had just came from, but hadn't made it to the major leagues just yet. So I'm producing this sportscast, and I'm so excited. I probably don't have very long before I go on, I remember. And Scott Sumner, as you know, who actually has a podcast as well on the DBNA network, Whether or Not, which is so cool. It's a really cool concept he's got going as well. He was the only one in the newsroom, and I couldn't tell anyone because they had to release things, I guess, accordingly. Couldn't tell anyone. And I was like, Scott, I have to tell you something. I was like, because he was like, are you okay? Have you been crying? And I was like, Cody got called up, and he was like, I won't tell anyone. So we're on the newscast, and we're just like waiting for it to be over. And he's like, go get on a flight.
Oh, wow.
It's a special moment because he's such a special person in our lives, like to this day. But it was incredible. It was a great feeling, I'm sure, for him, even more so than me.
Man, I'm getting goosebumps hearing the story. I think it's great. So Cody, take us through the emotions. You're driving up there, you get to the ballpark, you're in the show. Take us to your feelings walking into that locker room, seeing your jersey there with your name and number, and then going out to the bullpen. Take us through that series. And did you have any superstitions that you had?
It's funny you say that because my first day in the big leagues was the trade deadline. So it was absolute chaos.
Wow.
I think we had like 3 guys get traded that day. Luckily, I actually played with a guy earlier in the year that was there now. So I actually knew somebody. So that was kind of nice.
That is.
And then a couple, another, we were very young at that point. That was when they were starting to get rid of everybody. So it was kind of nice, having a bunch of other guys that were around the same age that were just newly up there as well. And then for me, I don't really have any superstitions besides the way I warm up. I always throw the exact same amount of pitches every single time, no matter what. It's just kind of like I've just built it into my routine.
Part of your process.
Yeah, that's it. And then I go in or whatever. So for me, it wasn't like everything was fine. I didn't end up pitching the first night, so I kind of got to like get everything in. Just sitting outside in the bullpen in Yankee Stadium is crazy because people are basically on top of you. So they're just yelling at everybody because they don't care, but it's awesome at the same time. But I ended up pitching the second night. It's funny, we were losing the first night. Now, I thought, well, I'll probably get in here. I've never been up here, so I'll probably get in this game. End up not. We're playing the next night. We're up like 4-1 in the 7th. And I end up going in the 7th, and we're up 4-1 or whatever. Get caught during the 7th inning stretch, jogging onto the field. So I get stuck in the outfield by myself. during God Bless America. So I was like, you know what? I might as well take it all in now instead of while I'm out there. So, I took my time looking around the stadium there for a minute, kind of got that out of the way, and then warmed up. First guy I faced, I played with the entire season up to that point. So that was kind of a good little get me out of the way. But it was definitely surreal. It's hard to explain it, honestly.
So you're out there on the mound, clearing the mechanism, we'll call it, staring at the glove. You know what pitches that you want. You knew the batter that you were facing, so that had to help you. But take us through when you first started seeing the signals from the catcher. Were you locked in? Were you hearing sounds? Was it the smell of the popcorn? Was it the cheer of the crowd? Take us to that moment.
Yeah, it was honestly kind of like that, clearing the mechanism. It was kind of just like laser beam through. I have a tunnel vision, basically, like everybody says. It's real. It really happens. So basically I had tunnel vision through that inning. And then as soon as I got done, it was like, that's when everything hit me. I went out there to do my job, got my job done, and then went in. And then as soon as I get in the dugout, it was like, what just happened?
Wow. That just happened. And then for you, Amber Lynn, were you able to watch that and see him out there on the mound, or where were you able to take this all in?
So I was lucky enough. His parents came in, and so of course we went to every single game together. And like he said, the first game we thought he's definitely going to come in. So of course you're a ball of nerves the entire time, and you're just like waiting for him to come in. And then you're like, okay, well, I guess he's not. And you're like, dang, this is just prolonging the stress that I have. I just want to see him pitch, kind of thing. And which we're so excited and elated that he came in and see that door open. And we were at my mother-in-law's hand, and I'm just like shaking and crying. And two of the most incredible women that I've met in baseball, who I didn't actually know at the time, were sitting next to me. And they were like, is that your husband? And I was, yes. And to this day, we're very close with them, and they're incredible people. But it was definitely surreal, and just thinking about how hard he had worked for that moment, and where he was too, because I know Yankee Stadium, that was a goal, being with the Yankees that time. And I looked at him, I said, so funny how God works, because he still gave you that, but you were just in a different uniform. And the batters he faced as well, where it was a pretty cool story there. So, but it was just, there are no words to express how that felt, and just how proud of him that I was, for sure.
Wow. Yeah, because again, as a player and being a former player, you have, if it's a superstition, you kind of stick with that superstition, but you have that process, that routine, the same thing that you do time and time again. But all of a sudden, man, now you're in the show on the big field. I mean, fans going, I mean, it's got to be so cool that all your hard work comes to fruition. And Amber Lynn, for you're in high heels and an evening gown. What is that like, walking out and then hearing your name called, making it to the finals, and then having to answer questions? I mean, take us through that, because that has to be pretty nerve-wracking in itself, because they're like, oh my gosh, I've got this dress and high heels. I don't want to fall.
Right. So it took a lot of practice, and honestly, a lot of him watching me do it, and showing him what it needs to look like. Does it look like this?
Lots of filming.
Lots of filming.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah. In high heels, probably from the moment I got back from the gym, just kind of walking around in the house in them, to be completely honest. And they mold to your feet, and you don't want to take them off, because then it hurts really bad. But that was definitely a moment for me. I remember I was 5 years old, and I always watched Miss America with my mom. And I remember telling her, one day I'm going there, like I'm doing it. And so to be able to represent a state that has had such an impact on our lives, and to place in the top 3 to next to incredible women, that was definitely something for me that felt like I did it, but definitely not as cool as standing on a mound at Yankee Stadium. But for me, it was very fun.
Well, do you know what the questions that they're going to ask you are? Were you able to prepare, or did they hit you with something like, oh my gosh, I've got something similar to that? And how do you feel you did with the answering of your questions?
I love interview. It's one of my favorite parts of the competition, especially on stage. It helped having a journalism background. And as you know, just being in sports, sometimes you literally have to talk about nothing. If they come to you, the game's not over yet, and you don't really have time to prepare. But
Gotta
luckily,
fill her.
yeah, exactly. And so I had an idea of what I was going to be asked, because luckily the Miss had their pageant before ours. And we kind of had an idea they might be similar, just because of the different type of title holder that they were looking for. So that helped a little bit, but I had some incredible coaches who now I actually work alongside training girls with, who
Wow.
prepared me like from top to bottom. I mean, you could ask me to talk about a pink notebook and I would turn around and be able to talk about and turn into a speech. That was how much I practiced, I guess. And that was an exciting part for me. You know, on stage, I didn't get a great question. I think it was about social media, and how I'd utilized it through the pandemic, which was huge for us with our nonprofit. But it was definitely exhilarating.
And Cody, I heard you mention just a few seconds ago, you said you did a lot of videotaping to help her with preparation. What was that like? I mean, make sure she stood just right, the right foot had to be just in front, or hands on her hip, or how did you help kind of coach her through that?
It was basically just me filming and her telling me that this is the way I'm supposed to walk, and if I don't walk that way, tell me. I'm like, not really sure what this means, but okay.
Oh, that's awesome. Well then, Amber Lynn, so are you ever out there with the catcher's mitt on and he's up on the mound, and is he throwing heat to you?
So we attempted that during the pandemic. We attempted that, but I think he was tossing. I think he was just tossing to me. And I was like, man, how do they do that? And I was like, you gotta stop, you're gonna break my hand. And he was like, I was literally tossing you. That was probably like 30 miles an hour. You know that, right? So I was like, give me full catcher's gear. I can catch you. I'm good. You know, I played softball before I was a cheerleader in high school. I think I got this. And I did not have it. It did not happen or go over well.
Well, Cody, I'm sure you didn't give her the 86-mile-an-hour heater, or a splitter where that was going to come off and bruise the moneymaker, the cheek or anything.
No, no, just make sure she could catch it first, and then we went from there. But it didn't last too long.
Oh, I think that's fun. Great stories, you guys. Amber Lynn, where are you hoping that all this leads to for you in your career? Because again, Cody will have what? How many more years, Cody, do you think you'll have? Chasing the dream of getting back to the show.
It's a great question. I guess until my body says so at this point.
There you go.
Hopefully, I don't know. You can put a number on it. You got Tom Brady playing in the NFL at 44. So
avocado toast, baby.
I mean, granted, we're not all Tom Brady, but you can hope.
That's right. Well, Amberly, are you hoping to be able to maybe land in a city where he's at and then be able to do sport broadcasting? Then you guys just again continue that power couple, or what does that look like for you, or what are your aspirations or future thing? I mean, not that you have to divulge any breaking news here on the Coach Scott Field Show, but are kids in the plans or?
So that's a great question. And it's a question I ask myself a lot, and that we honestly talk about. I am definitely ready to jump back in the hot seat. And I feel like doing the Better Half has allowed me to really do what I love and keep doing it, and travel with him as well. And I want to always continue the Better Half and keep doing that. What I love about sports is the different aspects that you can be involved in, especially with broadcasting. Tom Rinaldi is someone I look up to. He's my all-time favorite. He's like my Oprah. But I think as of now, who I am as a person, and I feel like who I've been called to be, is definitely maybe having those sports aspects. But I would love to be able to exactly do what I do now and host a show and be able to bring people on and share stories that really move people. So that Tom Rinaldi aspect that you see on side of sports. Of course, I love sideline reporting. I love everything to do. If you asked me if I wanted to go shoot highlights on a Friday night, I'd be like, absolutely, let's go get some coffee and let's go shoot highlights. So I'm just passionate about it. But I think where I want to go is utilizing platforms like this in a show, maybe like an Ellen, that brings really issues to the front, or even like I said, the stories, and be able to tell people stories and share hope and light with people.
Wow. What is it about Tom Rinaldi? What are his skill sets that you hope to be able to possibly emulate or put your own personality twist on to take to broadcast?
I don't think that there's a story that he did on College Game Day that I didn't cry. I don't know what it is, and I would
Wow.
have to tell Cody to turn it off. I'm like, please just turn it off. I don't want to cry today, but it's one of those things that's so moving. And I had the privilege when he came to Tennessee, when they were at Tennessee, and I was actually in college there. And our communications sector got to actually work with College Game Day, and he was the first person I wanted to meet. And he taught me. He said my name the first time that he talked to me, and he remembered it. And I remember him telling me, he was like, "That's very personal. It's something I do." And he would share little tidbits with me. And I remember even that being 10 years ago and being able to remember that, how special that was for me. So I know I'll never be able to touch what he does. But like you said, I think bringing my own personality to the forefront and utilizing maybe an entire show or aspect of that to be able to share those stories and bring people on who've overcome, so much, to give hope to those who are maybe sitting there on their couch and thinking my baseball career is over, or I'll never be able to play in the NFL again. And they see that and they're like, I'm going to start tomorrow. I'm going to do this.
Yeah, see, and I think you have such a special gift and talent to be able to draw that. For me, it was Roy Firestone with Up Close, because he'd have the same. He'd have everybody cry just by the depth of his questions and his ability to connect, not only with the person he was interviewing, but also the viewers. And I think that's something that is a truly a special gift.
Right. That's something that's so special, is to be able to, I think in today's society as well, being able to connect virtually, because that's what we do now. A lot of people aren't going back to work, and I think I read a stat the other day that 60% of people, if they were asked to go back to work, they would find another job, just because of the work-life balance has been so great for their mental health. And being able to really pull viewers in just as you do on your show, and make them feel like they're a part of this experience with you, is so beautifully put.
Well, amen to that. Cody, when the baseball days are done and it's time to hang up the cleats, are you thinking of getting into coaching, broadcasting? What is it that you aspire to do once the cleats are hung up?
That's a good question. I've always thought I'd probably like to dabble in probably like athletic director, something along those lines. I went to college for sports management, so I've kind of been able to um, see they made us do, every tier of everything sports while we were there. So you had to do the concession stands, the management part, the law part, everything. So you kind of got to taste a little bit of each of them. And for me, I kind of like the management part, being an AD. I don't know if I'd want to be like a college, maybe like a high school, a private school, something not as crazy as a college. I know those guys are probably work 24/7, 365.
Yeah,
And
it's a grind.
after basically doing that for the last, however many years I play, something a little more low key sounds a little nice, but that's kind of what I've thought to dabble into after. Of course, plans change as always, but that's what I'd like to do as of now.
Yeah, always keeping your mind open to opportunities. Hey, I heard you mention, probably the high school level. Are you thinking high school because you could have a bigger impact on the student athletes?
Yeah, I just remember when we were in high school, obviously we went to a non-private school, so our athletic director changed year to year. I know it'd be the baseball coach one year, basketball one year. Sometimes it was an assistant principal, whatever. But they're always around, no matter what it is. And I think if you have that power to be around those kids, especially if you're in an area where it might be not as nice or what, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter if it's a nice school, private school, whatever. If you can get one kid to change their life, that's worth it to me.
Amen. Amen. Using the tools and the skills that you've accrued to this point of your life, Cody, what do you hope to, and how do you hope to impact those young student athletes? Because I see it from afar at the grassroots level with definitely basketball, but what is it that you hope to do to impact those kids and provide them with the soft skills, hard skills to, be the best people and be involved in their communities?
Right. As you know, there's a fine line between hard coaching and soft coaching. And I think now, since there's so many so-called experts on everything, I call them, I think the whole coaching field and all that's been so saturated by gimmicks. As you know, the game does evolve, but it doesn't evolve that drastically. So just for me, it'd be just the basics as to being a good teammate, a good person on and off the field is the biggest thing for me. Because, it's so easy to be the best athlete on that team, regardless of if you're a good person or not.
Yeah.
So if you can take those and mold the superstars, then that trickles down from the superstars to the next level, to the next level, to the next level. And then you can get those kids from 12th grade that starts there, trickles down 11, 12, and then the next class comes in and they already have learned it because they instilled it in them. So it's kind of just getting that cycle going through over and over, and then that you can take that from being there to the communities. Because I know back in Mount Juliet, where we're from, the football coach now, I have a couple friends from high school that coach there now, and they're all over social media. They're always helping out around the city. They're doing anything they can to help the youth and all that coming up, and now has brought schools and recruiting and all this other stuff to our city. When we were in school, I don't think we had a D1 football recruit in 20 years. Yeah. And now they have Alabama, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Missouri, and all these schools coming in weekly to see kids.
Wow. What I hear Cody Carroll saying is I'm going to create a culture, and that culture is going to be established on character and hard work and work ethic. So more power to you. The sports world and community needs more people like Cody Carroll in it. So I applaud you for that. Continue to strive for that. Amber Lynn, the last question here in the last few minutes. What would Amber Lynn Carroll today say to an 18-year-old aspiring Amber Lynn Carroll?
I would give her a big hug, and I would tell her that she can do it. I think when I first got into sports broadcasting, the market was completely different. It was before the Me Too movement. It was before all these women, all of these women have gone before us to pave the way, essentially. And I can't imagine what they went through to get to where they did, and the persistence and the mentality they had to hold. Because even in my short time, even in internships and different things, I dealt with a lot of adversity, we'll call it. And it was hard. It was hard being a woman in sports. If you were a woman in sports, it was, you could never do anything right. It was too much or too little. And I think I would look back at her and I would say, hey, keep doing your thing, girl, because you're doing a great job. Just be you. When we were growing up, it wasn't really, you either were a doctor, a lawyer, a nurse, so if you say you're going to journalism, then like, you're not going to make any money, which they weren't wrong, about that part.
Yeah.
That part. But, it was that passion for me that I had since I was a kid. And to earn my way to getting there, hitting the ground running and working 80 to literally 90-hour weeks sometimes, and staying overnight just to get a story done, just so it could air, the next day. persistence and hard work. And I'm so thankful for all the women who have gone and spoken out and just really trusted their gut and been through what they have been through to tell the story for all of us that didn't have a voice.
Wow, powerful stuff. Well, I'm going to say this. Salt Lake City is beautiful, and we have a AAA Salt Lake Bees out here, Cody. So I'll tell you what, we would be so blessed to have you both in our community in both broadcast and out there in the field because, you know, I think they're with the A's or the Angels. So just kind of keep that in the back burner or put that in your agent's ear because we would be thrilled and honored to have you guys out here in our community doing the wonderful things that you guys do everywhere you go. And I can't thank you enough for taking the time to spend time with me tonight, you guys.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. You are always an inspiration. You and your wife are incredible. I always talk about you guys to Code. So we were super excited to sit down with you tonight and chat. And you're such an inspiration to us. All you've done and the impact that you've made on the world, clearly the world around you.
Well, I'm humbled by your kind words. It's all about inspiration and empowering, and I think you guys were like passing the torch, and you guys are wonderful. And I'm so proud, and I'm a fan of both of you guys, and hopefully we can cross paths soon. But again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for taking the time to share and inspire and empower our viewers because I feel like this is going to be a hard show to follow with you two on it here today.
Well, thank you
Yeah,
so
thank
much.
you.
We'll take you up on the Salt Lake City too.
Oh,
We've
we've
been
got
to the
great.
airport. That's
Yeah.
about as close as we got.
Hey,
Totally.
we've got great restaurants. We've got a wonderful community. We got great schools. We like our baseball out here, even though we got the Utah Jazz. But I tell you, we'd have open arms to have you guys. And any community would be super blessed and honored to have you there.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
You got it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is another edition of the Coach Scott Field Show. I am honored and humbled, and trust me when I tell you this show has exceeded my expectations. Thank you, Amber Lynn Carroll. Thank you, Cody Carroll, for your time and continue your servant leadership and continue to lead with that faith that I know you do. You're an inspiration to many. Please follow and support these guys. And again, her show is The Better Half. Cody Carroll, look forward to seeing you out there on the mound soon, brother. Keep working, and God bless you both.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.